Hi everybody, welcome. Welcome today. Welcome to the VirtualLight Broadcast here at Aspabo. We got a lot of things going on, so going to be a while. First of all, let me just explain next month on the VirtualLight Broadcast. It will be on the I'll have to look it up. I think it's on the 23rd. Whenever it is. Next month, we're going to make some big announcements. So be sure and be here for next month's announcements. We have some programs that we're going to be instituting that we should have in place by then. So we're moving through quite a few changes as a result of all this, and I'm not allowed to talk about it just yet. Although I did spill the beans at the seminar last week, so anyway, it's hard to keep a secret. You know, really is really difficult. Anyway, next month we'll be making some announcements about new programs coming to Aspabo. I think you'll like this. Anyway, we'll be sure and be here for that. We had just finished the CLPP program here in Las Vegas. We had it was just a really special, very unique time with, it was a small group of people. I think we only had 15 people or so. So it was really intimate and able to really connect with people on a very, I haven't been able to do that in a long time. It's been a long time since I've been able to really connect with that many people that closely. So we really had a great time, very enjoyable. We learned the modality that the group wanted to teach. We'll be teaching this modality as well in Breda, Netherlands, coming up on November 3rd, 4th, and 5th. You can find that information right on the website there, right on the front page. Matter of fact, all the information is now on the front page of the site as to what we're doing, what's coming up next, what's in the long term, and be able to do that. We're going to be bringing back a lot of material coming up due to this program that I'm talking about that you'll find out about next month. We're basically bringing back some very important material to bring the essence of all the groups teaching together. And like I said, I'm very excited about it. We're also getting ready to start another year of Lightmaster in October. That'll be a whole new refreshing thing as well. We also do certifications for Lightmaster. Lightmasters, once you've been in Lightmaster for a year, you become an ordained minister. After that, you go through the different levels. You still retain your ordination, but you basically go through level 2, level 3, level 4 to get those certifications as well. And I don't believe we sent out anything last year because we actually kind of ended Lightmaster, even though we kind of continued with the same group of people anyway. It was kind of strange. So anyway, we brought Lightmaster back. It was doing really well. I am so pleased to be working with these people to be able to do this in this way. So it's working out really well. Also, we are live on Zoom today as well too. The main thing that you can get from Zoom is if you're interested in having it translated. You can have the subtitles translated into 14 different languages. So you're welcome to click on that. There's a link right down here at the bottom of the screen to get into the Zoom. And of course, you can watch it on YouTube live as well. It's streaming on YouTube, it's streaming on Vimeo, it's streaming on Boxcast, it's streaming on, we didn't stream on Facebook. It just doesn't seem to go anywhere on Facebook. But Facebook, I think you need something for 3 seconds, you know, that's about it. So anyway, we're streaming live on a lot of these channels, and really honored to be putting together a monthly idea, monthly thing for all of us to get together and really come together and work on this. So today we're going to be talking about the portal. That is one of the things. I don't know if it's in the first channel or the second channel. We'll know pretty soon. But we are going to be talking about this portal. The portal is open. It remained open. Now we have to find out, okay, now that we've gone through all that, what does it mean exactly? What is it going to mean to us? And I'm not sure how deep they're going to get into it today, but the group promised that they would approach that today in the channeling, that they wanted to talk about, okay, now the portal's open, it's permanently open. What does that mean for us, and how can we use it? How can we activate it? How can we bring it to its highest conclusion? And that's coming up pretty soon too. So we've got a lot of projects going. We just recently did, on the 30th, we just recently did the human, what is it called? The Q&A Q&A for the human journey. And what this was it was an experiment to see how things would go. We're always trying to find ways of packaging things that you guys like, that works for you and works for us. I don't know if this works for us because we only charge $5 for it. But basically there's a Q&A that you can sign up for it, not every month. The next one's not going to be until October 14th. But it will be up there. I'm not even sure you can sign up for it just yet. Nick probably hasn't gotten that information from me. I think probably just this morning. But anyway, we'll be putting that back up. The reason we're bringing it back is because people really loved what we did. And so did I. I really enjoyed answering the larger questions. I answer the small questions all the time in private sessions when people want to know about themselves. They want to know how they can improve themselves, how they can heal something, how they can work with something, how they can release some emotional stamp of things of that nature. Do a lot of that in private sessions. But I generally haven't had the chance to answer the big questions, and that's what this is. This is an opportunity to really get the big questions like, how did the universe begin? I mean, we can talk about all sorts, and the group doesn't want to answer it. They'll tell you they don't want to answer it for whatever reason. But we do ask you to bring in the big questions for this. We will ask to bring those in a week early so that we can have the opportunity to pre-record this because it will be on a Saturday. So we're going to ask you to have those in I think your questions are supposed to be in by the 7th. So anyway, new opportunities coming. We have decided to continue that, not every month, but probably every other month. We'll do one of these question and answers for the human journey. We'll keep the price really low. It turns out to be about an hour. Sometimes it was 45 minutes one time, an hour and 10 minutes, whatever the case. And we'll simply go through the questions that you guys send in. If there are questions that are on a very personal basis, I'm not going to answer them there. I will write you back and tell you that this is a personal question. I'm sorry, but I won't be able to answer it in this venue. But as far as the big questions, things that you want to find out about, things that you wanted to hear more about, the origins of the group or where they came from or what the observer sees in the universe or anything of that nature, the large questions, this is a great opportunity to do that. And we had a ball to it. Elke and I had an absolute ball recording this, talking about these big subjects because I don't get a chance to really tell you what the group says about all these things because it doesn't come up that often, unless it's part of a seminar or something, which not everybody goes to. So this gives you an opportunity to ask those questions and to do that, and we'll be happy to do that again coming up in October. Keep an eye on the front page. I just put it on the front page, so it's there, but the link doesn't work to it yet, so we have to wait for Nick to do his magic. And like I said, I just kind of sprung this on him just before we started, so there's no way he was going to have it up. But anyway, that's there. That's coming up for things that we're doing. We're also putting together packages to be able to step into the healing work. We are bringing back a lot of our healing work. We're going to be doing spiritual psychology starting in October. It is a 9-day session. I'll put that on the front page as well so that you can mark your calendars on the dates. And it's not imperative that you be here at a moment for any of these classes. It's not imperative that you be here for the live class. Many people that, especially since we do all the Light Masters on Friday and the focus channels on Friday, many people watch these over the weekend. So anytime after the live event is fine for watching these, and you have 90 days of viewing time from the live event. So you've got plenty of viewing time to look at all these and to watch them and to catch up on what you're looking for. So anyway, they're available at any time after that. Spiritual psychology, we will be putting up. We're also going to be putting up Crossing the Veil. Crossing the Veil was an incredible 7-day seminar, which turned into a 9-day seminar because we had so many questions and answers, really good ones at the end. So I'm going to include all 9 days on that and let you just go, because you can always speed through some of this stuff on there. But we are going to bring back quite a few of these certified courses. And then, like I said, we'll be talking about the announcement next month, about why we're doing that and where that's going and what that looks like. but we're bringing back a lot of material for healers, for teachers, for people that want to use this material in the next way, and to find out really what the group says about all these aspects. Because that's really what this is. It's not about this is the only way to think of it or this is the only way to think of this, but really how does the group look at this? Because they look at everything differently. That's their gift to us, is a different view. And that's exactly what the whole process is about. So anyway, glad you're all here today. Thank you, light workers. We'll do this again. We are going to be bringing CLPP back to Las Vegas. I don't have the dates yet, but I'm looking at February. I'm looking at late February. So as soon as I get those dates, I will let everybody know as soon as possible. But this is a really powerful modality, and I think we're going to end up teaching it in different places throughout the world. It will not be online, not for some time. This is the one that we present in person. So anyway, glad you're here with us today. We'll be stepping into that. I'll be stepping into the first channel here in just a couple of minutes. And then we'll bring in Jillian. Jillian is just a joy. She was actually with us in the CLPP that we did here in Las Vegas. So we get to spend some time together and really get to know each other. Absolutely magical lady. She's bringing in another section today on hydroponics that she really likes. So she'll be sharing some information about that coming up as well. So thanks, Jilly, for being a part of the family. It really, really is a joy to see you and see you do this. So anyway, we've got Meg is here, and we've got Allison here, but we're missing Sandy Sedgebeer. Sandy just lost a week. she just lost a week. She wrote me and says, I lost a week. I don't know what happened to it, but I lost a whole week. So anyway, she's not able to be with to record that in time for us today, but she'll have it. She'll have one for us next month with the Spiritual Book Club and the No BS Book Club. Excuse me, the No BS Book Club. So anyway, we'll be doing that here pretty quick, bringing that 2 channels from the group. One's coming up in a minute. The other one will be coming up later at the end of it, and we are doing quite a bit to make that available to you in many different ways. So I hope you enjoy that. All right, just a second here. I'm going to put you on pause while I rearrange my seat. Bring in the group. Greetings, dear ones. I am Malia. I join you with such joy this day. You understand that the portal is remaining open. That is a really big thing from our side of the veil. We get to applaud you for holding this open. We know this was difficult. We know this was not easy for many of you, and yet you stretched out. You opened up in many different ways. And we know that many of you cannot see the difference. You can't tell the difference of when the portal opened or what happened with it or how you held it open in some way, but you will. The reality is there's much help that is coming now. And what you've done basically is given permission for that help to enter your game. Now that'll be in many different ways. The very first way is going to be to assist the planet, who is in a spiral right at the moment. Her connections, the warmth of the water, all of the things that are starting to change very drastically, the wild, crazy motions of the jet stream themselves, almost as if there's a top that was spinning very tightly at one point and now is whirling all over the place as it wobbles around. This is creating massive weather changes. This is the redistribution of water that you're seeing still on this planet. The wildfires that have taken up, all of these things are related to this jet stream. And yet the jet stream remains. If the jet stream breaks, everything will start changing very rapidly. So celebrate it. Celebrate the fact that you're seeing this energy still moving, all the energy around planet Earth. And although it used to be very tight around Greenland and Antarctica, the 2 poles of the planet, the reality is it's now moved way out and has wobbled quite a bit. So there's quite a bit of movement, not only with the jet stream, but also with the Gulf Stream, which is the water stream that connects much of this. So you're seeing a lot of changes taking place here very rapidly. Fear not, you're on a good path. And furthermore, the Earth herself has decided to make certain changes. These will become evident to you as you go forward. But the reality is she has the capabilities of supporting all 8 billion souls. Right at the moment, that is not happening. You have your days where you are actually using so much more resources than she can produce, that literally you've even calculated these days on in different countries to see which countries use most of the energy. It's really an interesting process to see. But the reality is you've changed a lot. She's also getting help from some of the originators of the planet Earth, some of the originators, rather, of the game of planet Earth. Your whole game moved here. You brought all of your energies here and started incarnating on this incredible planet. And you've had 10,000 years of undisturbed energy field to grow, to evolve, to do all these things that you wanted to do. Well, now that's changed. That was the Holocene. The Holocene was 10,000 years of steady, straight temperature, varying less than 1 degree in either direction. That is gone now. You've gone like a skyrocket, right? From the very beginning of the Industrial Revolution, started to change that and end the Holocene. And yet, with the Earth adjusting, with her making shifts and changes, it is entirely possible that she can still host the game of planet Earth, host the game of humanity, if you will, and still support everything. She is doing everything in her power to reset her energy. This is why we had 2 days of a focused energy on planet Earth, to try and connect with her, to open up our hearts, to connect with her as a living, sentient, breathing being, evolving being. For she has decided to evolve, and she's trying to do it very quickly to catch up. She's trying to do it very fast in order to catch up to the weight of the planet, which is upon her, the weight of humanity, basically. So anything you can do to ease your weight on the planet, anything that you can do to open your heart and connect with her openly, even maybe just enjoying a beautiful scene of nature, or finding one in your own area that you can be there and open your heart to. Become vortex masters, become in charge and guard these beautiful vortices that are opening up in so many different places. You'll start to see much of the energy of that. And we will keep you up to date on many of these focus channels that we do, where we do 2 days worth of a subject. Many of those subjects are going to be things that you need stepping into this next level, and also that the Earth needs. So we'll try to keep you up to date with as much information as we can on these changes. But this is good news, dear ones. This is a beautiful opportunity to see this next level of humanity flourishing on this planet. So hold that vision. Right now, you have a little different one. Right now, you're seeing all the problems. You're seeing the storms. You're seeing the wildfires. You're seeing the flooding. You're seeing all of nature overwhelming humanity. And yes, that is happening. But we also tell you, this can slow down. Now, there's several things that can happen at this point. As we mentioned, keep an eye on the jet stream. As long as the jet stream is still in motion, yes, it's wild. Yes, it is moving like a crazy snake moving throughout everything right now instead of a straight line. And yet, as long as it's still moving, as long as it's still circulating the energy of planet Earth on the poles, that is incredibly important. If that slows down, planet Earth will start to move into a mini ice age pretty quickly. So celebrate that. And even though it's changing a lot of your weather patterns and bringing cold to places that should be hot and hot to places that should be cold, and dry to wet and wet to dry, and so forth, these changes are actually now starting to be harnessed in a positive way. So there are good things that are taking place right at the moment. Your part is about celebrating the mother, connecting with her in whatever way you can, whether it's to take a walk in the woods or to pick up trash in the woods, or whatever it is that you can do to honor her and to honor that part of her which lives in you. This is a great time to do it. Now, you've also looked at Mars. You've looked at maybe taking a contingency to Mars and inhabiting Mars. And we'll tell you that will work to some degree. It's not truly the future of humanity. It's simply too far away. But you have done that before. You have been on Mars before. In fact, that's where you first began the whole journey of what you now call humanity. So it is possible to actually separate you and the planet Earth, even though your physical bodies are part of that. And yet we tell you it's probably not going to end up being Mars. There are many exoplanets that are being discovered right at this point. And your history is going to just flood you with exoplanets. When you find these exoplanets, you're going to also eventually find life. And the first ones, you're probably going to find life quite differently. You see, there are so many life-supporting planets out there. And of course, the way that you define life here is not the way that we define it as well. For we define it as microbes. We define it as many of the same things that you have here that you don't actually call life. Those are very much alive in different places. On top of that, dear ones, you have other places with customs. You have places that have grown up in different areas in different ways. You have planets that are close to their sun, and they have huge amounts of gravity sometimes because of the size of the planet. And those produce a little bit different experience, a little bit closer to the planet, a little bit shorter people, if you will. It just simply produces a different experience. The same with your own energetics. There are beings that can move multidimensionally, which you have seen as your space brothers. You've seen these in many different ways. That portal has now welcomed them, especially the 8 original races that helped form planet Earth. That is huge. There were 6 originally, and now there are up to 8 that basically can come to planet Earth to help. And they're dealing directly with the planet at this point, more so than with the humans. And you're still waiting for them to make contact, an official contact, where they stand on front of some cameras and are filmed, and all of a sudden the spaceships have landed. Well, that's probably not going to happen. It would take way too much energy to try and do that, and there's way too much fear on planet Earth at this point to do that. So what is happening is, with this portal open, you have basically held open the heart of planet Earth. That's why we ask you, how much love can you hold? In doing that, you opened up all the opportunities for these beings to come and start assisting with the planet and her adjustments that she's taking. This can be huge for all of you. And in the beginning, you're simply going to notice it as a slowing down of some of the difficulties of planet Earth. You'll see some of the places that were extremely hot are not quite as hot as they used to be. Yes, you'll see the overall temperature of planet Earth continue to rise. And if it slows down, that would be a very good sign. But it can also slow down and continue to grow and move past it, in which case it would move into this mini ice age. The idea is to keep the planet from swinging violently. It is going to swing. It is a pendulum. It does that naturally. But the idea is to work with your heart, to connect with who you are, and claim that power with planet Earth. That can be huge, and it can be really big for planet Earth and all of humanity at this point. These are wonderful times to be here, dear one, and your space has been reserved. Your place on this planet was carefully reserved for a long time. Welcome home, dear ones. You have the highest of angels here to make this transition. and we're speaking to many of them right now. Welcome home. And with that, I'll leave you for the time being. The Keeper of Time will come back in a little bit and address you, tell you a little bit more about the portal and some of the properties of the open portal and what can happen with it. Enjoy the journey, dear ones. We watch as the feminine continues to rise on this planet. It's rising slowly. It's not making headlines, which is a good thing. That is the way that it moves throughout all of humanity. Very cleanly. Welcome it. Bring it in. Know that that side carries tremendous strength for everything that you're doing. And enjoy the ride. So with the greatest of honor, I ask you to treat each other with respect. Nurture one another at every opportunity and play well together as you create this beautiful new game. Aspabo, dear ones, I am Merlia. I am the feminine form of Merlin. Welcome home. Come up and see me sometime. Aspabo.
Hopefully by now you are familiar with me. I am Juliana Raymond, and I've been a spiritual researcher, author, and wisdom teacher for many years, and honored to be invited as a presenter on the VirtualLight Broadcast. I hope you are enjoying the program shorts I present. Today's topic is hydroponics. With global weather changes afoot, we will need to become more creative with global resources to provide sustainable living nutrition for the inhabitants upon this beautiful planet. What if we could provide nutritional foods 365 days of the year and conserve land usage through the implementation of hydroponics? The fascinating supportive element surrounding hydroponics is that practically anyone can create a nourishing garden in just about any amount of space. Hydroponics has been around a long time. Why has it taken so long for us to catch up with history? The famous Hanging Gardens of Babylon, that was 600 BCE, might have been the first recorded concept of hydroponics, but the Greeks were using hydroponics, hence the Greek interpretation for the word hydroponics, meaning water workings. Harvard has been studying the properties and uses of hydroponics, and somewhere hence, Longwood Gardens established the use of limited acreage crop harvesting, not to mention the Chinese. And the popularity of hydroponics continues to grow. The Disney Enterprise presented the use of hydroponics in its Epcot exhibit, The Land, in 1982. Visitors are taken through a water ride where they are introduced to a variety of hydroponic growing environments within a 10-acre complex that provides the Disney environment with nearly 75% of the nutritional elements supplied to its numerous restaurants on a daily basis. That's a wow factor. An interesting program caught my eye recently, where a local farmer established a hydroponic environment within a shipping container. His container's environment is so successful, he is providing his local restaurants with their required lettuces and vegetables. And here's some more magic about hydroponic gardening. Lighting resources can be provided with indirect sunlight or electric growing light substitution. Weeding isn't necessary, nor are insecticides, as the plants grown are in a sterile environment and are virtually disease resistant. Small spaces can yield high volumes of nutrition. Plants can grow vertically in a substrate medium that is less than 2 feet deep. Minimal amounts of water are necessary and provided through a drip system of purified water, vitamin-enriched and recycled. Fresh produce could be supplied to any locale at a fraction of the cost of traditional packaged goods. In addition to fruit and vegetable production, undersea environments can be established within containment vats that serve fresh fish to a variety of restaurants, without the risk of toxic waters or polluted waterways. Waste is absorbed through water lilies, keeping the container systems free of bacteria and pollution through symbiotic cooperation of plant and animal. Hydroponic units can be constructed from the low-cost tubing that delivers the water through the nutrient drip system. Plants receive the correct amount of light due to a revolving track system that exposes the plant to varying degrees of light. Plants can be inserted into vertical tower systems. Once again, all this can be established within limited space parameters and with limited labor-intensive work environments. Flowers can be grown in various nutritional mediums, sand, compost, or enriched soils, and fruits can be grown on supportive stalks and produce volumes unsurpassed by traditional growing methods. The benefits are many, but the cost-effectiveness is major. With little investment, the return is noticeable. Imagine being able to restore large parcels of land currently being used as farmland to natural land resources. Imagine eliminating the use of toxic chemicals that can often be harmful to fragile, biodiverse energy systems. Hydroponic environments reduce the need for application of harmful insecticides, as hydroponic gardening reduces the need to provide mass water resources. There is only minimal water usage, and there is no overuse of soil foundations. Hydroponics can exist on rooftops, under bridges, or in apartments. And on a more practical term, how many empty building spaces could be refurbished into hydroponic growing facilities? I know of 2 vacant buildings in my own town that could be turned into a viable enterprise. And while I'm presenting you informative information on hydroponics, the emergence of microgreens is a trending opportunity. Our local farmers market introduced microgreens as a nutritious salad additive. Microgreens are created by harvesting the new growth of emerging crops that can include cantaloupe, parsley, basil, broccoli, radishes, arugula, and much more. The nutritional element of fresh fruits and vegetables serve to support good health, boosting immune systems, and act as incredible buffer from exposure to emerging bacterial elements our human systems have not yet built immunity to. I urge your own research into the opportunities of this new creative growing environment. And once again, I am Juliana Raymond, a wisdom teacher, an energy-sensitive and quantum healer. I've created a free podcast series, Life is a Spiritual Soup, covering a variety of subjects designed to inform and assist you with life navigation. You can find these on Spotify or through my website, julianaraymond.com. In addition, I provide private consultations to help individuals understand restrictive lifestyles, and I present a variety of workshops designed to enhance daily living. I could be reached at julianaraymond@gmail.com.
Hi, everybody. So nice to be here with you for September. Let's dive right in. The last couple of months, I have been speaking about illness, about how it's a conversation, about our perception of time in conjunction to illness. And this month, what I want to talk about is pain. So what is pain, and how do we resolve it? How do we resolve it quickly? How do we resolve it full stop? So to understand pain, first we have to understand the anatomy of pain. When pain receptors are stimulated by temperature, pressure, or chemicals, they release neurotransmitters within the cells. And then a pain message is then transmitted to the brain by specialized nerve cells. These are pain receptors. Your mind can also cause pain without a physical source, or make pre-existing pain increase or linger. This phenomenon is called psychogenic pain, and it occurs when your pain is related to underlying psychological, emotional, or behavioral factors. So that starts to make things interesting. We look at just the body and how do we treat the body, but what is the root origin of pain? The prefrontal cortex is responsible for the cognitive evaluation of pain. Hypnosis helps you take your mind off the pain and override established pain signals. We can interrupt that communication from the nerve cells to the brain. You see, our bodies are equipped to sense pain and to also relieve pain, like a lock and key in the cell. That's actually where medications, how they're manufactured, is to be that key to the lock from the study of the cells and then the cell receptor. But our body actually does that without the medication. If we learn how to tap into that innate wisdom, endorphins are our body's natural painkillers. Endorphins are released by the hypothalamus and pituitary gland in response to pain or stress. And this group of peptide hormones both relieves pain and creates a general feeling of well-being. In hypnotherapy, we can drop deeply. I can put a client into deep hypnosis for pain relief, and they feel like they're floating. And to the brain, this I thought was fascinating. To the brain, whose dominant language is imagery, floating imagery equates to the brain the same brainwave patterns as being on opioids. And that was Dr. Candace Pert that wrote about that. So in hypnosis, when we use imagery, and you've heard me talk about imagery being the dominant language of the brain, when we utilize imagery and imagine ourselves floating, we can lose the sensation of pain in our body. Endorphins actually muffle your perception of pain, and they boost feelings of pleasure, creating a temporary but powerful sense of well-being. And according to the Macedonian Journal of Medical Sciences, hypnotherapy stimulates the brain to release neurotransmitters, encephalin, and endorphin functioning to improve mood so it can change individuals' acceptance of pain or other physical symptoms. Change our acceptance of pain or other physical symptoms. So we have a lot to break down here and understand. If pain is first created in the mind, we have the ability through hypnotherapy to create pain relief through imagery. And you know that I spoke a few months back about a client showing up to our session one day that was experiencing a very debilitating and painful fibromyalgia flare. And through deep hypnosis and specific guided imagery for her and fibromyalgia, so custom work, her pain stopped. Her flare halted and her sores dried up and didn't ooze again. This session was about 2 hours, and she wrote me a week later to say that the flare didn't return. How does this happen? This is sort of atypical to what we understand when we're in a flare of a chronic condition. But we can utilize the mind's power and ability to reframe what it is that's happening, and our body responds to our thoughts. Can it be that quick? So we have to look at several points. First, our ability to create pain relief by overriding the pain signals in the brain through the hypnotic state. And second, the cause. So we can bring temporary relief, but then we have to look at, where is this coming from? What is the purpose that it's serving? Pain oftentimes represents protection or pleasure. As odd as that sounds, we have to remember that it's unconscious. So we're not going to logically make sense of that from conscious thinking and conscious awareness. We have to remember that it's unconscious and it stems from an emotional component. So how does pain represent protection? Say, for example, I worked with a client who was experiencing chronic pain in her lower back, and she would say to me, "It feels like my back is ripping apart." And as we began working together, I discovered that in her past, she'd gone through a tough split with her now ex-husband and 2 children, and there was a nasty division of assets, and her ex-husband didn't want the divorce. He didn't initiate it, so it went on for a while. It was complicated and uncomfortable. And fast forward, she then moved on with her life. She was happy. She was loving her single life, her work, raising her 2 daughters. And as soon as she started to think about dating again, making herself available to a relationship, she started having back trouble and back pain that rapidly accelerated into chronic lower back pain. And her doctors didn't see anything on x-rays. There was nothing really pointing. Obviously, there wasn't a compressed disc. There wasn't any osteoarthritis. There wasn't any rheumatoid arthritis. There was nothing logical showing in her body that would cause that pain. That's when we start really looking at the emotional component. And that's the piece that can be very frustrating for people, because if we can't see it on something, then people are told sometimes, well, it must be in your head. It's psychosomatic, but that pain, that manifestation of pain is very, very real. It's not psychosomatic, it is real. But the cause isn't a malfunction in the body. The cause is her subconscious mind trying to protect her from her inner and subconscious belief that another relationship might end up being painful if things don't work out. And could be a very painful separation, painful ripping apart, pulling apart. You hear it? So pain, in this example, the manifestation of lower back pain was the subconscious mind saying, no, 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 we're not dating. The relationships are bad. Because if they don't work out, we get hurt. This goes on for a long time. This is emotional. This was the division of assets that just was never ending, and we're pulling our kids through it. And so how it manifested, where and why was not random. It's logical in the subconscious terrain. So find the blueprint, and I get the job of being a detective, which I love. Then we find what your blueprint is. Pain can also represent pleasure, and that sounds very counterintuitive, doesn't it? It can even represent safety. And as odd as that sounds, here's another example of how your subconscious mind hears you and governs over your body. Remember, its job is to run your body. When you go to sleep at night, you're not breathing. I mean, you're breathing, but you're not telling yourself to breathe. You're not reminding your lungs to breathe. You're not counting your heartbeats and making sure, keep breathing. Okay, that's 52. Keep going. We have to hit 60. It's all being governed over by what? By what intelligence? Your subconscious intelligence. So we have intelligence, innate intelligence within us that knows how we were formed. Every single cell that made us. It knows every thought, it knows every belief, and it knows your highly emotionalized incidences. And it is always trying to bring you back into balance. So, have you ever just wanted a week off? Maybe you were just tired. Maybe you've been going at it full steam, putting in 80-hour weeks or 60-hour weeks, and evenings you think you're going to rest, but you end up getting ready for the next day, and you're doing cooking and tasks and jobs and laundry and so forth. And you think to yourself, I'd really love to just take a week off and read my books and have my alone time and sip tea and just rest. And then all of a sudden you come down with the flu or a cold. There are other cases, like a client that I worked with who was diagnosed with fibromyalgia and osteoarthritis. And she told me as a child that her younger sister was the favorite, and her parents would dote on the baby. But my client always felt like she had to be responsible for her sister. You're the elder, take care of your sister. Everything sort of circulated around the baby. So she always felt like she didn't matter, right? So the pampering skipped over her. So now her younger sister has to help her because her arthritis has been so severe. She can't grip things. She has trouble walking when she came to me. So now she's the one getting the pampering. She's the one that matters. She's the one that mom's calling to check on. She's the one that baby sister's coming to help her and look after her. There's a level of pleasure in that. There's a level of priority. I matter in that illness. So the illness becomes the placeholder for the conversation, the limiting belief that she didn't get pampered, she wasn't good enough to be pampered, the baby was special, I'm not special, I don't matter. So our mind works really hard to make our thoughts come true. And as a clinical hypnotherapist, I get to be that detective to help you figure out what the inner conversation is about pain or whatever your goal and desire is, and find the limiting beliefs from most likely your childhood, all of us, because at that point, we're wide open subconscious. All of the information is coming in and we're learning just to take it all in, and then we analyze and process later. So over time, it compounds and we reinforce that programming. But it all started in childhood. And some of it, not nice childhood. Some of it wasn't nice. And others, great childhood, but we still end up with programming because mom and dad's beliefs are projected onto us. And if not, sometimes it's aunts and uncles and teachers and friends and peer pressure and authority figures. This is how we learn. But when we're children, we don't have the ability to see it as circumstances. We see it as personal. This is about me. This is because of me. I'm not good enough. I'm not safe. I don't matter. Baby sister's more special than I am. Relationships had a maybe mom and dad got divorced. I don't want to get divorced. Oh, I went through a really bad divorce. Now I'm happy. My life is working. All of a sudden I have an illness. The moment I start thinking about dating again, that's not random. Subconscious mind knows what you're afraid of. Subconscious mind knows what's dominant, and it's always trying to move you towards pleasure and away from pain. And pleasure can look like sabotage sometimes because in its language, it's keeping you away from that relationship. It's making sure people are coming in to help and pamper you. Starting to make sense? Your mind is extraordinary. Whenever the instructions are reframed, it doesn't judge or analyze whether or not you're worthy. It knows you're already worthy. You were created from intelligence that creates multiverses. This is not about your worth. This is about the mechanism that works. And it can work just as easily creating illness. It can work just as easily in reverse healing that illness. Once the limiting beliefs have been changed, once that highly emotionalized, over time reinforced programming has been reframed through custom regression work, now we have a whole different belief set. And we have a different calibration. So body heals. We move forward. It's not scary to date. I feel confident. I feel comfortable with myself. This is the work. This is the blueprint, the roadmap. Was that pain real? Absolutely. Was the diagnosis real? I'm not a doctor. I'm not allowed to speak to the diagnosis, but if the doctor has said it's real, then it's real. Has it evolved to the place where it can't be healed? You decide. What if you decide and they don't decide? I've certainly lived through that in my own experience, being diagnosed with Hashimoto's and getting to the place where I don't have symptoms. I work with a wonderful integrative doctor and I adore her. We see things the same. We have wonderful conversations. The doctor previous to that said, well, you can't ever fix that. I don't accept that. That's not what I believe. That's not what I agree to. In the same way, healing my knee now as it progressively gets better. Where does it come from? It comes from a place. It comes from time with compounded programming that you then decide. And the subconscious mind governs the body. That illness is a way to meet the need you're looking for. It's just meeting that need in an unhealthy way. When we find out what the need is and we reframe that and we do some work getting your subconscious mind to then integrate and accept the new over time because it learned through repetition. Oh, well, then that looks like healing. That looks like something that they can't explain. And they say, oh, good. Well, then maybe it was something off here or there. We can't explain it. Yes, we can. But it's subconscious terrain, right? We've got innate intelligence and access to problem-solving intelligence. That's superconscious mind. But first, it's understanding the service it's providing for you and by you. That illness is created for a reason. Your mind is extraordinary. And sometimes we're actually mentally punishing ourselves for something we've done, maybe that we feel guilty for. We feel guilty about something in our past. And our bodies create aches and pains and punishment because we're carrying around this enormous guilt. And we feel we don't deserve to be happy, healthy, living a great life. Emotional pain representation. Sometimes we're creating safety. My partner can't leave. They'll have to take care of me. My family will prioritize me. I'll matter. Emotional pleasure. These things make sense at the subconscious level. When we look at it from a conscious level, we think, well, don't do that, not through your body. How else does your subconscious mind communicate with you when its job is to govern your body? It's only through your body. It's all so fascinating, and none of it is random. And the common denominator is you. You're going to manifest your way based on your blueprint, based on your beliefs, based on your experiences. This is why sometimes one size does not fit all when we're looking at healing. It's what you believe. And it's also, I have found, the deep secret that you carry. What you'd never want to say out loud, but you'll say to your clinical hypnotherapist, because I'm governed by law to protect your privacy. So there's never any judgment. So it's a safe place. You decide what everything means. And then your body manifests those beliefs because your mind is always trying to protect you. It is always trying to keep you safe, and it is alive and trying to keep you alive and move you towards pleasure and away from that pain, that guilt, that shame, that secret, that limiting belief that you won't say out loud. And you'll say it's something else for a while because that's easier to own. But deep down inside, there's that one that almost makes you want to cry. There's that one that hurts. There's that one that you think, I don't ever, ever, ever want anyone to know that. That's driving things. And that comes from being innocent as a child. So you've got to let yourself off the hook. If you're dealing with chronic pain, if you're dealing with discomfort, if you're feeling like life is just slogging through molasses every day and it's hard, then you've got thoughts around it. And it may look like it's other people, but they're really just the matching point of attraction. Internally, you've got belief subsets, and your mind is creating this pain as a way to move you towards your healing, as a way to move you to get back to what that need is, that emotional need that you're after. The good news is, just as your body began to break down, it can also repair and heal itself. And actually, the healing is quite fascinating too. When I studied a long time ago to be a clinical iridologist, it's amazing how things show up in the eyes first. As a clinical iridologist, we could see that It's called Herring's Law of Cure, was one of the things we studied. And it's the body heals in the same reverse. It's the reverse of how the symptoms appeared. So the most recent, all the way back to the deepest. It's logical and it's brilliant. It moves in layers. And healing is the process of recalibrating really to the truth of who you are. It's the truth of who you are. You cannot be made from the same intelligence that creates multiverses and keeps it all orbiting and in balance. And do this if you believe in reincarnation over and over and over again. And not think that you are worthy or that you matter, that you're important, that your presence is relevant. You can't have those two beliefs at the same time. You can't think I don't matter and yet I am made from extraordinary intelligence. It's in you. It's part of you. It governs you if you allow it and you learn how to access it and work with that. So you decide. You choose. You do the inner work around your beliefs. And if you can't find them, because it's hard sometimes to see it when you're in the middle of it, and everything that we tell ourselves feels like truth after decades. It feels like, well, it just becomes a belief. But it came from childhood and you were innocent to it. And it's just compounded over time. So if your body's talking and you're not sure of the conversation, there is a blueprint there that you can walk it back, and together we can locate it specifically for you and get you feeling better. If that sounds like something that you would like to investigate, I do have a wait list to work with me. But if I can ever help you, I would be happy to. I offer a free 30-minute consult where we could have a conversation about it. You just reach out through my website. And if not, that's fine. I want you to consider the pieces. I bring these pieces out each month, not to solicit business because I'm busy, but it's to let you know that there is hope. To let you know that you are far more intelligent than you believe yourself to be. And the conversation that your subconscious mind is having with you through your body matters. So, does it make logical sense to try to shut it down? I'm not speaking ill of any form of treatment. Whatever makes you feel better, good. Whatever gives you relief, good. But as an adjunct, there is inner work to be doing there. There are highly emotionalized beliefs there that have compounded over time, and it's manifesting this way, and you can manifest it a different way. A different way to look at it is, I am so bloody powerful, and my mind is working so hard to look after me that I have manifested this. I don't know why, but I'm figuring it out. And as I figure it out, it's going to unmanifest it because I'll be manifesting what I want instead. It was all in service to you, by you. If we can really hear that and that lands and we can own that, then we're having a conversation that is so big and so relevant and so important. And there is deep contemplation there, because that, on the other side of that, is what makes you so extraordinary, because you get it. And you only need you. You have everything within you that you have ever needed. You did not come in as a baby needing later on in life. You need all of the support around you when you're a baby. You need to learn how to walk and talk and eat and survive and thrive, which is why we're wide open with our subconscious mind bringing in all the data for programming, because we need it all. We don't know how to manage here. But once we pass teenage years and into our 20s, we were always supposed to become responsible for ourselves. But society didn't really teach us that. We didn't really learn that in a way that actually teaches you that you're the powerful one, that you're the authority of you, that your mind knows the way, that your soul has a plan for you. We didn't learn any of that. No one taught us that. And so we're learning that differently now. And it is amazing to see some of the ways that the world is changing now because the younger generation knows this innately, which is why they're choosing who they study from, which is why they are choosing where they're putting their time, their money, their attention. Challenging things. It's beautiful. You are extraordinarily powerful, but there is a whole part of your awareness, your mind, your knowingness that you just haven't learned how to access, how to talk in its language, and how to have this conversation and flow back and forth so that you're seeing what's showing up in front of you and adjusting it based on what you are believing. That's the real game. I thought that was a conversation very worthy of having. So thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the month. Have a great show. I'll see you next month. Be well, be happy, be extraordinary. Bye for now.
Thank you, Meg. Incredible stuff. Absolutely incredible how it all kind of blends together. It still amazes me how this all works. Now we get to hear from one of our favorites, from Allison Chester Lambert, with the astrology for the month. Aspabo run.
Hello and welcome to the astrology for September. Well, before actually I start on the astrology for September, I have to say a massive thank you to all those of you who let me know that the great Pam Gregory had mentioned me and read from my book and talked about me in her video on the full moon in Pisces, which has just gone on YouTube. And I don't know if you know this, but I don't watch any other astrologer's work. I don't read it. I don't watch it. If it comes on in front of me, I switch it off. And that's not because their work isn't great and fantastic. I know that it is. And that's why I don't watch it. Because I would listen to everything they said. I would soak it all up. And then I would regurgitate it and punch it all out again. And not tell you, this came from this person, this came from that person, this came from the other person. I would have forgotten. I wouldn't have known where I get it from. And so therefore, in order to make sure that I do not infringe copyright of anybody else's work and don't copy anybody else's work without saying who it is, I deliberately don't watch, don't read, don't know. So thank you to those people who said, Alison, guess what? Pam Gregory's talking about you. And I'm going, no, shut up. No, shut up. No. No, she is. Oh, my God. And she was, thank you very much, reading from my book, Starry Messengers, which came out in 2006. My first book ever. And it was all about the dwarf planets. And in those days, honestly, this book just fell off a cliff. Nobody wanted it. It did nothing. The first publication was with the Midland School of Astrology. I published it through the Astrology School. And I think I ordered, there must have been about 1,000 copies. And the printer went into bankruptcy the day after they posted or freighted those books to me. So I got all these books to sell, and they had gone into bankruptcy. It's just such a sad thing. And I thought, does this bode well for my book? I'm not sure. Anyway, so just those copies, by the way, only about 50 now survive. What am I saying? Now only about 50 are left. All the others have been sold over, let me see now, nearly 20 years. Oh, they went like hotcakes over 20 years. Actually, a lot of them went in the last 2 weeks since Pam Gregory read from the book. So thank you. I wouldn't say it's been an overnight success, but it's been over 2 decades success. Anyway, there's not that many left now. And so this will make the book quite rare because it can't be repeated. When the publisher went bust, so did all their file copies. And so then what happened? Second publication was with Findhorn Press. They called the book The Future in the Stars. There are some copies of that floating around, but again, that is now out of print. So I've got a few copies of that if anybody wants them. But anyway, so it's lovely. I need to work on another book about the dwarf planets now, clearly, because there's not a lot of print that I have written, so out there to sell, rather. Okay, so thank you very much, Pam. I'm over the moon, and I'm so excited and humbled and just feel so nervous about that. Thank you. Ah, dear. Anyway, I shall have to ring her up if I can find her. I shall have to send her an email and say, hello, would you like to do a joint webinar or something? Anyway, I'm going to talk some more about the dwarf planets later, because since writing that book, I have continued to research these in just the same way that I did before. And I have got loads more information on them now, which I'm not that good at putting out there because I think nobody's interested. So maybe now is the time. I have an old website called Midlands School of Astrology. So that's Midlands School of Astrology.co.uk. But I no longer webmaster. I just literally leave it online. There's no adverts on it. Nothing pops up in your face and says sign here and you'll get $1 million. $1 million or something. Excuse me. So you can go on it. It's rather like walking into a library. You get completely left alone to browse through something like 300 pages of astrology research, really, that I did in those days, early part of the this millennium. Anyway, so do have a look. Amongst it, anyway, is my latest essay on Meki, one of the dwarf planets, and it's called a follow-up to Meki. And in it, I write of the absolutely latest research and all my new ideas about what this planet represents. And so if you are interested in Pam Gregory's work on the dwarf planets, then you really would be interested in this, because she hasn't seen this essay yet. I'll send it to her. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Oh, anyway, we'll talk about them in a minute. And we're here to talk about September. Let's get this out of the way, and then you can press stop and shut me off if you don't want to hear anymore. So, September. So I've got it here in my notes, and I put a line through it. You might not be able to see that, but because when I looked at the month overall, I was really struck by something. I was struck by the amount of Venus and Jupiter contact there is in the first 18 days, and then how much there isn't from the 19th through to the 30th. And so I thought, this is interesting. There's a real flavour in this first 3 weeks of September, which relates very much to the position of Venus in Leo and Jupiter in Taurus. Now, we've got fire and earth there, right? Because Venus is an earth planet, but Venus is in a fire sign. Jupiter is a fire planet, and Jupiter is in an earth sign. So we've got fire and earth going off here. That's always a very good combination, because although these are absolute enemies of each other, fire fears the order of earth, and earth fears the chaos of fire. Nevertheless, when they get together, there is an opportunity for all those dreams and imaginings and potentials of fire to be manifested into something earthy, something material, something made of stuff, right? And so that's good. I love those opportunities. Venus, the earth planet in fire, feels the potential, but the fun and the playfulness of Leo. Leo is great for just enjoying, being creative, the colour and the beauty. And so Venus, I think, has a good time trying on new dresses and makeup and stuff in Leo. I think Venus also at times suffers from a little bit of self-esteem issue in Leo, because at the end of the day, Leo is a painful sign. Leo is dependent on the adoration of others, just like the gods are. The deity resides in fire. And if human beings don't give adoration to deity, fire dies. Leo suffers with this. And if people don't love it and praise it and give it the due respect it deserves, then Leo becomes very deflated and depressed. But just putting that to one side, I think there is, at the moment, opportunity for an expression, a good self-expression in the sign of Leo. Self-expression, Venus, Leo, yeah. Okay. So, and then just looking at Jupiter. So Jupiter, bless it, everybody says, oh, it expands everything. Yes, it expands everything, but it expands it because it wants to burst through barriers. It wants to burst through anything that restricts it and just surge forward. And it wants to broaden horizons. So Jupiter copes with expansion. Okay, so Jupiter wants to expand, and it's in Taurus. There we have a problem, because Taurus has cement Wellingtons, and it incarcerates you in a box which you can't get out of. And so Jupiter finds that his normal expression of galloping along and ignoring everything because the grass is greener over there can't be expressed. And so Jupiter has to go slowly. So the combination is that we can work with the material things, the mundane things, matter, and make it into something we want it to be by forging something which is expansive, which has creativity in it, which has ideas, which has deity in it, comes from the gods. So yeah, I think there's a great opportunity anyway in September to grab a hold of that. Then in later September, something caught my eye really, and it was the fact that Venus then trines, so that's 120 degrees from Chiron. And Chiron, of course, is the wounded healer who talks about humility and embarrassment and a feeling of impoverishment, not being able to have the resources that we need, a feeling of, I wanted this, and with great sadness I recognize I have a wound, I can't have it. And so there's something about the crying there. I looked at, just looking at the astrology gives me emotion, and I felt like crying. And I thought, that's sort of, I would love to be popular, but I'm not. I'd love to be in charge. I'd love to be the boss, but I can't be. That kind of feeling, the longing to be noticed and to be respected and to be held in high esteem, and then the sadness of knowing that that's not going to happen. Anyway, so that's around for from the 21st through to the 24th. I just thought I'd mention that. Mustn't forget the new moon. So that's the sun and moon in Virgo on the 15th of September. If you have read my work before or listened to me, you know how much I love the Virgo new moon. It's that time when I find myself laboriously going through things. I'm a Gemini, right? I get bored, right? Going through things and filing them all absolutely meticulously correctly. Going through kitchen cupboards and making sure the labels are facing forward. Going into the garage and deciding to reorganize the screwdrivers. Or how about, I'm going to clean every dog bed and pet bed and cat bed in my home. That's a lot, right? Because I, as you know, save rescues. What else do I do? Anything that regards putting things in order. Last year's accounts. So do I love it? Yes, I love it, because at the end of the day, you get a great sense of satisfaction from doing those things when we have the Virgo new moon. I don't get a satisfaction from doing them at other times, but there's really something about the atmosphere when the sun and the moon are both in Vesta's territory. Vesta, the Vestal Virgins of Rome, very quiet, highly focused individuals who used to keep the fire in their temple going in the middle of Rome, and they were invested with great power. If that fire went out, then Rome would fall. So they are high status and high ability, and Vesta's territory, keeping the flame going, tending the fire, tending the hearth, making everything as good as it can be. I think I think you'll enjoy it when it comes. Well, I hope so. Anyway, so what else have we got here? Oh, yes. Let's look at some dwarfs at the moment, actually, dwarf planets. So we've got, and this is a long running aspect between Pluto and Haumea. It's going to go on for several years. Haumea at 29 degrees of Libra, and of course Pluto has gone back into Capricorn at 28 degrees. And the pair of them actually are also with Eris, which is picking up the third corner of a square. So we've got Eris opposite Haumea, and then to the side we've got Pluto. And they're in cardinal signs, so they're in Aries and Libra and Capricorn. All three dwarf planets, all three in the Kuiper belt. Pluto very much about the underworld, so the potentials of the underworld, the magic and the changes, the death, the birth. And Haumea and Eris, actually more Haumea, forget Eris for a moment because she's a more chaotic one. Haumea, very much about creation and the creating of, specifically. So, they're having fun at the moment, and we are definitely in the throes of almost terraforming in terms of our opinions, how our worldviews are changing, nationally, culturally, societally. There is great movement, and definitely we're in the rise of the feminine. I would tell you this every month. I want to just look at Makemake, who I haven't mentioned there because of Pam Gregory's comments about Makemake. And I'm very pleased that I've got something I think is quite exciting to tell you about Makemake, and what this god, deity, goddess, again androgynous, possibly more male than female, what did it mean to its home on Easter Island, to the people of Rapa Nui, which was their name for their island. And they very much worshipped Makemake. Makemake was everything to them. And what was it that they were especially worshipping? And it was to do with, nothing new here, nutrition, resources. Makemake brought resources, or he took resources away. Always the planets, the gods, give or take the things that they have jurisdiction over. So their keywords are a pile of things which they can give or take. So Makemake very much involved with repopulation and depopulation. That's old research. But some more stuff on this repopulation, depopulation, to do with viruses and the control of viruses. And I'll talk about that first then. So on the island, scientists found a substance called rapamycin. They took some away in 1964 and conducted laboratory tests on it. The original, well, one scientist in particular had been on Easter Island and had noticed that the islanders didn't get tetanus when they were walking around an island with lots of cuts and things in their feet and horses and horse poo everywhere, and they didn't get tetanus. And this made him feel curious. I have curiosity about a man who walks around Easter Island and he's got nothing better to do than notice that the islanders didn't get tetanus. It's full of Moai statues. Why not get anyway? Don't start me. Anyway, they discovered this compound called rapamycin. It's been synthesized in laboratories as well, and it's been found to extend life in several species. It's an elixir for life. Okay, this is great, isn't it? But this substance is proving confusing, and I this is so mecky. It depends on the dose, or it depends on some other things as to whether it suppresses an immune system, allowing viruses to flourish, or supports the immune system and kills the virus. So they write about some mice. They did this particular study, and they say that rapamycin inhibits viral replication. I'm going to read for certain here. As a noteworthy example, rapamycin inhibits replication of the 1918 flu virus, the deadliest flu virus in history, by 100-fold. Ooh. And also protects against lethal infection with influenza virus when administered during vaccination. Ooh, very good, right? However, other researchers found negative effects when it was tested in one particular circumstance and mixed results in another. So where does that leave us? Maki may be a force for controlling population numbers. So there is not too many and there is not too few. It's like a feedback loop, they call it in science, where overpopulation gets suddenly restricted so that there is no particular bacteria, virus, or animal or human beings that can completely take over without something happening and the population suddenly plummeting again. It's nature's way of making sure that the planet survives. So Maki's obviously got something to do with this. But I also want to talk about Maki in another way as well, just in case you're interested. Easter Island for me is a fascinating subject. I spent 10 days there in 2016 on that island, didn't look at anybody's feet, and was fascinated by the Moai statues and all the other things to do with this amazing place, these amazing people and their coconuts and stuff like this. Anyway, so and it's to do with what was Maki to them, what triggered Maki, what force was it that they did see as Maki. And I believe now Maki is the La Nina huge ocean event which happens in the South Pacific, which affects the weather of the whole world for as much as a year later. And I'm basing this on recent research, and it's to do with the seas and how the food used to apparently be in abundance, and then apparently they were totally in drought. What caused this oscillation, these big differences that Maki was in charge of? And it's to do with this La Nina. So when La Nina is in one state, it causes an upwelling of cold, nutrient-rich water from the lower levels. And the fish love this. They eat it and they become very, very abundant. And so there's loads of fish that year, for instance. At the same time, that there is something else going on with the weather because of this uprising, which causes a drought on the island and no food grows. So there would be, if you went the other way, and there was no La Nina, then you would have high amounts of food and low amounts of fish. This actually completely solves the problem of because otherwise Makimaki is so confusing. Why was it, as people visited the island in the early days of visiting, Europeans going over there to ransack the island and plunder and pillage, and don't get me on that one, that they saw the islanders as well fed and abundant, and then 2 years later they saw them as skinny and little food. What kept going on? Well, it's to do with the La Nina, and let's face it, this was a god that you really had to follow, because there's no point in planting your sweet potatoes when all you're going to be doing that year is eating tuna fish. So it's absolutely understandable now how Makimaki got to the status he did. You have to excuse me, clear sore throat. 1 minute. Okay. So, loads more on that website, Midland School of Astrology, for you to read there if you want to read it. And you know what? I'm going to stop there because I've been talking for too long. And I'm going to start coughing. Alison Chester Lambert, astrologer. Fantastic to talk to you. See you next time. And don't forget to get hold of me for a reading. I love that. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Allison. Awesome. I got everything except I didn't quite get the raising potatoes if you're going to eat tuna fish. I didn't quite understand that. But the rest of it, I think I got pretty well. So anyway, welcome. Glad you're here. All right. Thank you, ladies, for your help with bringing us all together here. It's been a real pleasure to bring this together in this way. What we're going to do now is I'm going to step out for just a second and bring over a logo, and I'm going to go into the last channel for today. Bring back the Keeper of Time. Aspabo, everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm thrilled to tell you that I will be teaching Cognitive Life Path Programming in Breda, the Netherlands, coming up on November 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 2023. I'm thrilled to be returning to the Netherlands after many, many years of not being there, and to present this seminar especially. The seminar itself is a modality that I'll be teaching. It is all about creating your highest life path going forward from the Spirit's perspective. It's done through visualizations and several techniques that we teach, but we're not only going to teach that, we teach a whole lot of subsidiary techniques and things that you'll work with as well. For instance, brain balancing is a big part of it, where you do that in many different ways, as well as life induction techniques themselves, to show you how to do it. And then we go through and explain exactly what we're doing at each stage. There is a workbook included too, and it is a certified course. It's one of our healing courses in our electives. So with that, we're going to be teaching it in Breda, Netherlands, November 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I hope you come and join us. It's a really wonderful time to bring family together in this way and to make connections that you make at these types of events. Aspabo, everybody. We'll see you there. Greetings, dear ones. I am the Keeper of Time. I join you with this day with such joy, for you have accomplished so much in such a short time. We see much of the challenges that you go through, and yet we also tell you, you are way ahead of the game in many aspects. So understand that these changes do not happen lightly. They take time, and you have integrated them extremely well. This day we wish to speak mostly about the portal, how that has changed on planet Earth, how now the entire energetic network of planet Earth changes. and opens possibilities. You see, dear ones, much like your own energy field, you are very sensitive. You pick up other people's energies all the time. Well, so does the earth. Yes, only on a much grander scale. So what happens is that there is a magnetosphere around Earth, a magnetic field basically, and there's also several other energetic fields that interact with the magnetosphere. You've also got the ionosphere, you've got different elements that basically protect the Earth from many of the stray radiations that come through space. And this is very helpful for the planet, whatever planet it is, for it to evolve into its higher aspect and to really be there, because it's protected from much of the elements that would normally degrade it. Well, what happens when the portal comes on? Well, the portal keeps all the protection in place and yet opens up the energy so that beings can actually see the planet and that you can move through it in a different way. So as a result, you have many beings now that are working with planet Earth herself to try and shift some of the energy, to try and work with new attributes and bring new elements on board so that planet herself can take an evolutionary step and be able to house that many people that are on the planet. At the same time, you're doing things to raise your vibration, to elevate yourselves in different ways, which is weighing less upon the planet. That changes the 20-20 equation that we've been giving you. And if you are 80% humanity and 20% spirit coming out once in a while, if you increase the spirit, it actually weighs less on the planet. So that is a huge part. And we thank you for your work during this time that the portal was open. Because of that work and because of all of you blindly going forward without knowing all the results of what was going to happen, you held this open because of your dreams, because of your hope. So now let us tell you a little bit more of what is possible because of this portal being permanently opened. Now we say permanently because it's not going to be closing on the normal increment that it would close on. However, it's always possible for this portal to close. It is always possible for the Earth to take another shift and have to protect herself again, in which case the portal would naturally close. She will do that on her own if that happens. But in the meantime, there's a lot of help that's coming in from different ways, and you're making connections on multiple dimensional levels. Now, we've given you the illustration that you are 11 dimensions, 12 actually, including your higher self, and that you're a multiple of 12 wherever you go. And all the different aspects of that, every time you make a large decision, another one of your aspects takes the opposite decision that you made. You experience all of it in different ways. But because of the separation and the clear separation that you've had, with all of your different dimensions not being able to see each other, because of that, you've been able to balance a lot of things. And we tell you there's a tremendous amount of balancing going on in the 11 dimensions. Over here, you believe one thing. Over here, you believe something entirely different. And not only that, but you believe that this person's wrong. But they're both you. Now, the interesting part about all of this, of course, is that you are creator beings. So you create whatever you can balance between your head and your heart, you will manifest. And if you manifest something over here, thinking that this is absolutely the truth, you'll manifest it successfully. And if you're on the other side over here going, oh no, that's definitely not the truth. Look at this truth. Here's the truth that I have. And you truly believe it, you'll manifest a healthy environment around that. You are creator beings. Now, many times what we do for you is simply hold things up and say, here's a bright, shiny object, create this. And you do. You're magicians. You do all sorts of things on moment's notice to be able to manifest things out of nothing sometimes. So with that, what we tell you has happened because of this portal being open, you have capabilities of more multidimensional contact than you have ever had before. Now, we've given you suggestions. We've talked about timeline healing, where you can actually do healing in the timeline, and where you can erase things, where you can correct things, where you can shift things. Cognitive life path programming does exactly that. It takes many of these elements in the timeline and changes them, because you are creator beings. The moment you take a hold of something and shift it ever so slightly, it is yours. You own it. You can manipulate it, you can control it, you can duplicate it, you can work with it in so many different areas, even negative experiences. Well, you've also put negative experiences on your plate on purpose. You do that all the time from the other side of the veil. If you look at being a story writer, maybe you write books, maybe you write children's books, maybe you write adult books, maybe you write novels, whatever it is that you are working with. If you're working with a story and you're a storyteller, you're going to have negatives. Real simple. You have to have something for the hero to bump up against. Some big problem that they're going to have to find in order to rise above it so that you'll have a story to tell. That's how it works. So please do not look at any negative experiences as being wrong, or think that you are doing something wrong because you're having a negative experience. You have an opportunity for mastery. And that works really well. And you are creator beings, so you will create something out of this. When we hold it up to you, you'll go, oh, that's this, and this is used for this, and this is used for this. And you'll understand it, and you will manifest that in front of you. You're creating every step on your path just before your foot hits the ground. So you don't see it. You think you're leaving footprints in the sand. Those footprints were created just before you landed. And you won't see it because you've created the veil that keeps you from seeing much of it as well. So what happens is during this portal open time frame, you have more capabilities of working with your other timelines, your other dimensions of time space. Now, there's going to be some times where those cross over and you actually have increments of time that cross each other. Those are timeline crosses. We've spoken of that. You have one coming up toward the end of this year. We'll speak more of it at another time, but that's the overview of humanity has one of those. You also have many of these on an individual basis that happen from time to time. So with these, you have more capability now of being in touch with your other dimensions. Now, what does it look like? Well, the funny part about it is sometimes you go to do what you call past life readings, and you have a past life reading, and they tell you all about who you were and who you evolved to be. And many times they're actually doing a multidimensional reading instead of a past life reading. Sometimes it's not who you were in the past life. Sometimes it's who you are in this life in another dimension. And that happens a lot now. So those are the things that are opening up immediately. Because you see, dear ones, you're a perfect being. As we know, perfection is not allowed on planet Earth. So what do? You hide your perfection in all these 12 different dimensions. And over here, you're somewhat of an expert at this, and over here, you're really terrible at this. And over here, you're really good at this, and that same thing you really suck at over here. You're horrible at it. And you get to experience a lot of the good, the bad, the indifferent, the ugly, every other part of being a human in multiple dimensions. Now, those dimensions start collapsing on each other. You can start regaining some of your perfection. Now, that also means change. And humans don't like to change. It's real simple. You have a massive resistance to natural change. And there's nothing wrong with it, dear ones, but simply understand that there is a natural resistance to that. And once you adopt that, once you move past that, you accept it and move into it, you start connecting some of these other dimensions of time space. Sometimes they'll come across as a saying, as an idea, as a couple of words. Sometimes it'll come across as music. Sometimes it'll cross in different ways, but you will start getting signals from the other yous in the universe. That is very magical. Those of you who have done channeling and done spirit communication on different levels, this feels like that, only much more powerful. You don't have any doubts about this because it's coming from you. It's your essence that's basically speaking and receiving. So in these times, this is the perfect time to improve yourself in any way that you can. You'll find that things move faster as you step on the road to evolution. It'll move quicker than you did before. You're also going to experience more difficulties than you experienced before in a shorter time because you're moving quicker. You're basically bringing it on, saying, come on, bring it on. I'll take it all at once now. I've got a lot of help in these other dimensions of time space. And you will. And it begins on different levels. It begins on learning to trust the inner you. That part of yourself that comes out many times when you sit down to channel. That is your higher self. And that connection is critical for everything that you do. It's how you, as an expressed individual, not only connect with the other yous, but also connect with home. So all spiritual connection comes through that higher self. That higher self is a very important aspect of every part of it. But it's you. It's your true being. The more that you can raise of your higher self, the less you weigh upon the earth. The easier it is for you to step to that next level and take the next step up. And not only that, but then you reach behind you and you put out your hand and you bring up the people that were behind you. You become part of the collective of humanity and playing a new game. And it'll happen in the blink of an eye. Now we tell you there will be resistance to this, obviously. There's resistance to everything. Even when things are going normal, you now have more contrarians on planet Earth than ever before. A contrarian is simply someone who wants to go in the opposite direction than you've been going, for whatever reason. Sometimes it's wonderful because it brings new thought. Other times it just kind of mixes things up and works it in a different way, but you are creator beings. If you truly believe the contrarian is true, you manifest that. It's very simple. You are creator beings extraordinaire. Now we simply ask you to be aware of what you are creating. Choose your manifestations carefully. Know that as you open up this portal, you also open up the flow of thought. Not only multidimensionally, but even multi-planetary systems. You start opening it in so many different ways that you're liable to get a flow of thoughts. It's your responsibility to ground those thoughts in some way. Write them down. Well, what if you never do anything with it? It doesn't make any difference. Write it down. Ground it. Bring it in. Ground it in your world in some way. Use it. Speak it. Write it. Anything of that nature to ground this energy in your world. Even if you slightly disagree with it. It allows you an opportunity to fully examine it, to try it on, to see different things. And you're going to find that you move very quickly. Not only are you going to move quickly here, but you'll move quickly even faster in technology as a result of this portal opening. It's happened in a lot of different ways. And much of what has taken place has required you to hold your heart high. That's why we kept asking you, how much love can you hold? And that will be the key to keep this open. To fall in love with planet Earth. Fall in love with your experience. And especially your experience of other people on planet Earth. It's an opportunity for you to remember home in the most beautiful ways. Dear ones, you are the magicians of the game board. You've traveled a very long way to be here at this exact moment. Your space has been reserved. And here you are. We're so honored that you are with us. Know that your time is very valuable. And that we are very honored that you are looking to what you can do now that this portal is open. There's so much that you can improve within yourself and then carry it out into the world, into your ideas, your thoughts, and your deeds. Know that you're never alone. We're with you all the time. All you need to do is remember us, to call us in, to ask us a question, and then laugh as you receive the answer. You are magicians, dear ones. Carry your magical staff high and proud. You've created it all. It is with the greatest of honor we ask you to treat each other with respect. Share those magical staffs with each other at every opportunity and create miracles, not only for yourself, but for everyone. It's a new game that you're playing. Play well together, dear ones, and empower each other. Aspabo, dear ones, I am the keeper of time. I watch as the illusion of time creates your game. Well done, dear ones, well done. Aspabo, you are loved.